Hey everybody, tuning in here. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to this week's episode of Real Talk Real Estate. Today we're talking about a topic that is hot on everybody's mind this time of year because it's springtime, which means a lot of people are getting some tax checks back. They're looking at different options of different things they can do around their house and different ideas for renovations that they may want to do because as HGTV has shown everyone all the time that it doesn't matter what project you do at your house, it's always a good investment in your home, right? Well, not necessarily. Today specifically, I am talking about an article. Man, my camera is just not wanting to cooperate today as far as being level, so I apologize for all the movement. But I am talking specifically about an article that I actually linked to in the description on this video that actually talks about different things about whether or not an investment that you want to make in your home is actually a good idea or a bad idea. I know a lot of people have watched many shows like Flip or Flop, Love It or List It, Property Brothers, basically any different renovation show that they have on HGTV or Bravo or any of these other places, that basically anytime anybody does a home renovation of any sort or invest any money, they are always somehow recouping every single dollar that they put into that investment back when they go to sell the home, or if they're just looking at, like on Love It or List It, looking at the after renovation cost or valuation of their home, it's always astronomically higher than what they've actually spent on getting the job done. And while I wish that was absolutely the case, it 100% is not the case 9 times out of 10 because most of the time you're going to be spending money to improve the value but not get 100% or more of that cost back in your pocket. So today I'm going to talk about a couple different ideas that are good investments that you can do that are going to give you a pretty good solid return on the investment of the money that you put into it. But then I'm also going to talk about some of the worst ideas of renovations or investments that some people can make because they return the lowest amount of money back in your pocket. So obviously 2 of the top investments I want to talk about today are somewhat counterintuitive. You may not think that these are great investments as far as something that you want to do to update your home. But those 2 things are steel doors and new siding. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, that's not a remodel. That's not a renovation. That's not something that I'm doing to improve the value of my home. But actually, it could be. First off, steel doors. There's a lot of good, cheap options out there because steel is a relatively inexpensive metal, but it's also something that's super strong, highly durable, low maintenance. They can look extremely nice, something that many people don't take into consideration. And that could be the very first thing that people are taking a look at when they're coming up to your house, because obviously the entryway to your home is something that's going to catch everyone's eye. Second off, that siding. That's something that you can do to improve the curb appeal of your home. Stone veneer siding is one of the things, obviously, that has a large return on investment, but also if you're looking at just new brick exterior or you're looking at new vinyl siding, if you have an old aluminum sided house, those 2 things are ways that you can improve efficiency of the property. Not only that, but they're going to make it look a lot better. And curb appeal is one of the huge things that you can improve and should improve to increase the value of your property if at all possible. So those are 2 things that are always good investments. As far as the new siding goes, typically you're looking at maybe an 80% return of your initial cost that you're putting into as far as an increase in value. So say you spend $100, you get $80 of that back in the after renovation value on that. So great numbers to have there. But on the flip side, there are several different things that are bad investments. Things that you should avoid if you're planning on selling anytime soon after doing any type of renovation or improvement to your property. And today I want to talk specifically about 4 of the large ones that were listed in this article. And like I said, there is a link in the description of this video. Click that link, it'll take you directly to Riz Media, their blog post where I got this information. But those 4 specific items that you want to stay away from if you're trying to renovate a home with the plan of selling in the near future are luxury rooms, swimming pools, super personalized decor, and overdoing it for your neighborhood. And I'm going to break down each of those 4 things for you to give you a little bit more information. So luxury rooms. First off, if you're adding on to your house or having massive construction costs to build these luxury rooms, obviously not the best thing to do. If you're doing it for your personal enjoyment and plan on being there for a long time, knock yourself out. Have a great time. Absolutely no problem with making a spot that's your luxury room in your home. And what do I mean by that? your high-end man caves or your personalized stuff where you have like your basketball room or you have a home theater or you've got bowling alleys if you're going way over the top and making something super awesome. These are great things that you can do, like I said, for your enjoyment that make your house really cool, make it stand out, make it something that you can call your own and brag to all your friends, but they are not investments that are going to return a lot of money to you in the long run. Wine cellars are another thing that you can do. Hidden rooms, where we've seen people do that at times. These are all cool, awesome ideas, but if you're doing them, make sure you're not doing them as an investment, because the return is never going to be nearly as much as what you actually spend to put them in place, especially if you're doing any kind of home expansion to put these things in. If you're building on a room to your house to have one of these luxury spots, hate to break it to you, but it's probably going to be a horrible, horrible return on your investment, and you're going to be kicking yourself if you're doing that in the long run. Number 2, swimming pools. National average cost of a swimming pool is right around $40,000. I think they quoted it like 39 and some change in the article. You can read that whenever you get a chance. Best case scenario, you might be getting like a 25% return on your investment on something like that. On a lot of appraisals and things I'm seeing, you're looking at $10,000 to $15,000 depending on how super nice it is on your standard kind of average pool in our area. Obviously, you want to check with your appraiser or other marketing specialists or other agents in the area where you live, but most of the time, if you're putting in a pool, you're losing a lot of additional space. Now, Darren Erfer, he just commented on my last point about bonus room that is adding square footage. That is not actually necessarily a negative thing there. Now, Darren, the reason I'm saying that bonus rooms that are adding square footage is not a negative thing is if you've already got the square footage that is available in the home that is just currently unfinished because you're adding on space that's in, say, you got an attic space that's already floored and you can go in and you can throw up walls, you can finish it out with drywall, things of that nature. That is definitely a good investment if you have the opportunity. But if you're adding on square footage by actually pouring a new foundation and you're actually blowing out walls to move outward and change the footprint of the house in any way, that is probably not going to be the best investment because the cost of doing so is going to greatly exceed the increased value of that area. So Darren, that's a great question as far as bonus room that's adding square footage. Those could be great investments, especially if you're not overdoing it with the super personalized stuff to make it your man cave or your specialized room for any of those purposes. But going back to the swimming pools, $40,000 average install price, not to mention the cost of your updated insurance, because if you have a swimming pool, you got to pay more in your insurance premiums because let's face it, if you've got kids or there's kids in the neighborhood, typically you're going to have additional costs for that as well because they want to make sure that you have insured liability against anybody getting in and being injured or anything else happening. Not only that, having a pool increase your maintenance costs in your house. You're going to spend about $2,000 a year on average as far as running the pool, opening the pool, insuring the pool, all that kind of stuff. It's just going to cost you more on average than having a home that doesn't have a pool. There's more electricity, you got to put water in it, you got to buy chemicals. All of these things go into the cost of having a pool. So most of the time, if you're planning on working at a property just to turn it around and sell it and then phone call come in. But if you're working on a house that you're trying to flip or you're planning on moving in the next 5 years or so, swimming pool, definitely not something that you should have on your agenda. The next one was your super personalized accents. Maybe you love gold trim in places. Maybe you love the super highly patterned mosaic tiles for a backsplash or even flooring. Maybe you're one of those people that has seen some of those crazy, awesome textured wallpapers that they have out there now. All great things that you can do inside your house if it's somewhere that you want to be for a long time and it suits your personality. But if it's super personalized, not everybody is going to like those accents or like those updates that you put inside your house. The actual term they used in the article was gaudy accents. You know, gaudy is such a subjective term. It's not really something that I can utilize and say, well, this is gaudy, but this isn't. Things of that nature, I like to call personalized. If you absolutely love something, put it in your house, enjoy it, live there, love it, all of those things. But if it's something that's outside the norm, something that's not typical in a lot of new construction or a lot of homes that you're seeing that are being flipped, Greg Keith found his check. Woohoo! We're excited to see that. He missed the show today because he accidentally threw a check away apparently, so I'm glad he found that. But if you're highly personalizing your stuff and you're planning on moving sometime soon, most of the time you're going to have an agent who's going to come in and try to get you to neutralize that stuff anyways. which means you're going to spend more money to take out the stuff you just put in, so you're probably better off not doing that to yourself and saving the money if you're planning on moving anytime in the near future. And then last but not least, one of the worst things that we see people do is overdoing it for their area. If you're in a neighborhood that typically only brings about $200,000 as an average sale price for your home, and you're building some house for, like, say, a $600,000 house in that area, or you're completely over improving it. Everybody else in your neighborhood has carpet, laminate, and vinyl, and you're going in and you're putting Italian marble floors, and you're putting gold-plated faucets in, and you're just spending money in places that no one else is. It doesn't matter how much you think it is worth it in the long run. That neighborhood is going to bring the value down in the long run. Typically, you see these houses on, Love It or List It is one that really comes to mind, but they're going into these neighborhoods that are a little bit older. They're a little bit more dated. They haven't had the people who have gone in and updated a lot of stuff, which is why the whole show exists. Do we want to spend the money to invest in our home, or do we want to go buy another house in a different area that's going to give us everything that we want and everything that we need? Sometimes they're putting in some crazy high-end remodel stuff in these houses, things that would never bring the value back on the back end that they're seeing in these houses on these shows, because nobody else in the neighborhood has it. So it doesn't matter how nice you make it. If no one else in your neighborhood has it, there's nobody that's comparable to yours, the sales are still going to be at a detrimental or a lower level, which is going to be detrimental to your property value, because you are always going to be at the mercy of the other things that are happening in your local neighborhood, no matter how nice you make your home. It could be something that you spend tons and tons of money on, which could be valuable in other areas, but if you're atypical for your neighborhood, it is not going to give you the return that you may be looking for. So, contrary to what you might see on HGTV, every single remodel project you do is not always going to give you a phenomenal return on your investment. Prior to making any major projects or taking on any major projects at your home, if you're planning on selling in the near future, contact a local professional, somebody who can tell you the best projects to focus on, give you an expectation of the money that you can expect to return after that renovation is completed, and they're also going to let you know the things that are happening in your neighborhood so that you can stay on trend with all of the other things that are going on. It's always better to find out on the front end before you spend the money, especially if you're thinking there's a possibility you're not going to be living there for the rest of your life. So hopefully you enjoyed this week's episode of Real Talk Real Estate. I'm always here to answer any questions and give you as much information as possible to make sure that you know the reality behind real estate and not just what you see on TV. As always, you can hit me up in the comments down below with any additional questions you have after watching the episode, or with any other topics that you want to hear more about. I'm always here to make sure that I'm providing you guys value and answering any questions that you might have. You can also hit me up on my cell at 812-779-6273, or Greg should be back next week, and he will also be available by cell at 812-454-8103 if you want to hear any additional topics from him. Hope you guys are having a great week so far, and I look forward to talking to you next Tuesday.